So let's move on to foreign affairs. Under what conditions would you support military action in foreign nations?
I would support military action when it is necessary to protect the national interests and security of the United States and the people of this country.
So did you support the interventions in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya?
I wasn't obviously there. The intervention, I mean, at the moment, I sure did. You know, when it happened, when I came to Congress, I've been a strong advocate for ending the war in Afghanistan and working closely with some of my colleagues, particularly Congressman McGovern and Congressman from Texas, who's a Republican. And I apologize because he's great and he deserves to be recognized because he's been a real champion. And a growing number of members of Congress really trying to press the administration to accelerate in a responsible way the withdrawal and the conclusion of our involvement in Afghanistan. I did not support the invasion or the military action in Libya. In fairness, the president could claim a victory there, I suppose, but I believed then that, again, our engagement and expenditure of a tremendous amount of resources did not make sense. And, I think there are certainly examples. I mean, Syria, I think, presents a really challenging question because you have some evidence of really hideous, egregious human rights violations, the slaughtering of innocent people. And I think, we have a history as a country of finding ways to stop that or attempting to stop it. So I think those are, and I recognize the president had more information about Libya than I did, and presumably has more information than I do about Syria. But I think there are examples where, in those instances, we do have some moral responsibility to the extent that we can to take action that helps protect human life. And we can't do it everywhere, and that's always the challenge. Well, if you do it here, why aren't you doing it here? And in a time of limited resources, we can't do it everywhere, but we can hopefully be part of a worldwide coalition that's sort of divvying up where we need to play this role.
So is there a historical example of an intervention that the United States has taken that you think was appropriate, or is there an intervention we should have taken for humanitarian reasons? Give an idea of what
I think in the Sudan, I think that it continues to be a place where the United States should play a role. I mean, some of the atrocities that are occurring here are really, really, I think history is going to recount this, some of the worst atrocities in the history of the world.
So you would support a no-fly zone in the Nuba Mountains?
Yes.
Can I just ask you your thoughts on our drone program that seems to be?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a really I think it is changing the way we think about warfare and war, and I think the most alarming thing about the drone program is the kind of decisions that are made about when they will be used and against whom, which are really, I think, difficult to square with many of our basic constitutional tenets. But I think in addition to that, what is really disturbing and something we have to really be aware of, it's really changing the way we think about, and even the people engaged in this war think about war. When people were participating in wars where they themselves went into the battlefield and saw and felt the consequences of battle, it was a limiting, it created some sense of the gravity of what was happening. And you hear some accounts of the way the drone program works. These folks are like doing the drone attacks and then going out like Burger King, and going out for lunch, and the kind of depersonalization that comes with that in that context with weaponry that is so powerful, I think is something we need to be pay close attention to, the impact that is already having and will have on the likelihood and frequency of using that kind of military approach. So I think it's something we should be really, really concerned about.
In a related sense, the president's so-called kill list, and do you support some kind of oversight of that? That doesn't seem to be in play right now.
I think that's an example of, I think the people who have talked about what should our approach be to this war on terror There have been 2 schools. One is this counterinsurgency, which I think doesn't work, where we're investing huge amounts of money going into a country and think we're going to, sort of change the hearts and minds by, engaging in battle and then building up. It's been a complete failure. The sort of counterterrorism stuff, where you actually are trying to find and identify people who are posing a threat and a danger to our country and the well-being of our citizens, and then going after them. I mean, I think that is a much more precise and limited, and if successful, more effective way. But to your point, it has to include some system, and I don't know what that system is, but some review so that we're sure that that warfare is targeted to people who are actually intending to do harm to the United States and its people, and that they're, it's an imperfect system no matter what you design. But I think most people would say the current system doesn't have a review process in place at all, at least to my understanding. And so I think we need something that provides some oversight, some reporting and some oversight, so that one can imagine an example of someone who is, in fact, on their way to commit a crime that would, an attack that would do terrible damage in the United States, having some right to stop that from happening, even if it included killing the person engaged in that act. But I think we would want to know that that's limited and that there's some review somewhere in those actions, so that the president has the ability to both protect our country, but at the same time honor our liberties and honor our Constitution. I think we have done that for most of our life as a country. It's hard sometimes, but I think we have to do it. I mean, I voted against the Patriot Act reauthorization because I don't think it had the kind of safeguards that we should expect. So I think I don't accept the proposition that you can't do both things, that you can't protect the United States and its people and protect our Constitution. Otherwise, what are we fighting for? So I think we have to be sure we do both of those things, and it's hard, and it may not be immediately, obviously, how we find that balance, but I think we have to do both.
So a related question, what is your position on the indefinite detention provisions in the NDAA?
I oppose them.
Can I follow up on the question about the kill list?
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, we need something more than intention to kill somebody. Presumably, we need an act.
And a capability. I think you need more than, I think you need intention, some affirmative step to do it, and some capacity to do it. I mean, you could imagine someone saying, I'm gonna go blow up, but they have no ability to do it. So
in fact, I have been tempted.
Right. So I mean, I think one would hope, right? One would hope that it would include those 3 things. That it would include intention, action, and capability.
Thank you. So let's move on to campaign finance.
Can we just stop
Yes.
1 second?
Sure.
Sam, before I left, said, could you also look at the whole defense budget as it is now? Would that be something, an area that you would be willing to cut?
Yes. I actually voted against the defense budget on this past budget. I don't think there is any way that you can responsibly approach the budget challenges we have and suggest that the Defense Department should be off the table. I don't think that's possible.
So